Ah, yes, yes, yes. What the hell? I can't even summon lightning. I can't summon lightning. But you know what? I can throw my hammer. What is going on? Welcome to another review of continuing on the MCU to Endgame. The countdown, I call it the countdown towards Endgame. Let me just... Aha! Should I do this review wearing this helmet? You know what, I'll wear this helmet, but I'll get rid of the hammer. So welcome back to another, like I said, a review for the MCU. This time it's Thor, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Hopkins, Idris Elba, Jamie Alexander, oh my god, let me see, Ray Stevenson, and other people that I don't know. Oh, Natalie Portman. And I don't know anyone else. It's not Steven Skarsgård. Something Skarsgård. Peter Skarsgård. No, Peter. I don't know. Anyway, forget about that. I didn't bring a Thor t-shirt with me. But anyway, with all the craziness, out of the way, let's get on with this review. Let's just dive right into it. I should have, I really should buy a Thor t-shirt. That would have been very appropriate for this, but at least I got an Avengers t-shirt and it has Thor on it. So anyway, Thor. So, like I said, this story is basically, let's just get right into it. This movie is basically the story. It's like a redemption. Like Chris Hemsworth plays Thor Odinson, and you really see, like, he went from being this, like Odin said in the beginning of the movie, you're this greedy, selfish boy, and Thor says you're an old man and a fool. And that's basically what Thor is. He starts off being, selfish, arrogant, ignorant, being any other negative words that I can throw out there. He doesn't see the bigger picture. He doesn't realize that, if he continues, if he continues on his journey, like if he continues his goal, there's going to be consequences. And there will be spoilers, because this movie came out in 2011. Like, that's like years ago. So you had plenty of time. Plenty of time to watch this movie. So there will be spoilers if I throw them out there. If I can think of any spoilers, I'll throw them out there. But you have been warned. If you have not seen this movie for like 12, 13, 14, 8 years. But anyway, I just love seeing the story of this arrogant, ignorant hero, ignorant, God, turned into this righteous, amazing, like, person. Like, he's, he went from being ignorant to being worthy. And let's see here, look at my notes. So that's one part that I love about this. That's one part I love about this movie. And Thor, this movie is, again, another underrated movie, just like The Incredible Hulk. It doesn't, this movie, Thor, does not get a lot of love that it should deserve, because it's great. I just love, Jeremy John. I remember watching Jeremy John's his review for this movie, and he's right. Like, this journey of this God, like I said, going from, being selfish, being ignorant, to being worthy of wielding the hammer, worthy of being a hero, more than a god, a hero. and let me just look at my notes. And Loki, the main antagonist for this movie is Thor's brother, played perfectly, excellent, played perfectly by Tom Hiddleston, and I do know Tom Hiddleston. He auditioned for the role of Thor. He auditioned for Thor, but he didn't get it. People. I'm pretty sure the the department, the audition department were like, Chris Hemsworth, he looks like Thor. He does look like Thor. Like, maybe, I don't know if there's any other actors who can play Thor perfectly, because there's a lot of actors who are the characters, and every time I see Chris Hemsworth, all I'm gonna see is Thor. So he didn't play, he didn't get to, he didn't land the role of Thor, but he got the role of Loki, and he plays Loki perfectly. Like, Tom Hiddleston is perfect as Loki. Chris Hemsworth is perfect as Thor. Actually, to think of it, a majority of the casting for the MCU movies, not the TV shows, the movies are mostly perfect, if not completely perfect, and it's just great. Like, Loki, you find out that he turns, at the beginning, he is Thor's stepbrother. He's allying himself with Thor. He's going along with Thor's plan until Thor gets banished. Thor, the frost giants, they raided the vault, Odin's vault. They try to steal the casket. Thor goes on this mission to go to Jotunheim with a group of his friends, the Warriors 3, Lady Sif, and his brother Loki. All of them travel to Jotunheim. He convinced them to travel to Jotunheim, and until Thor gets into an argument with Odin, and he gets banished to Earth. And on Earth on Earth, Thor encounters Jane Foster, Jane, Darcy, and Eric. And this is the part that I didn't like. Like, the part that I did not like about this movie, this movie isn't perfect. It's not like A+. It's not A+ quality. The thing I don't like about this movie is the human aspect. I don't like the human aspect. The human aspect of this movie is not interesting. I don't care about, Jane Foster and her scientific theories about what the hell's going on with this magic portal shooting from the sky and this symbol that's on the ground in New Mexico, like in the deserts of New Mexico. I don't care about the science. I don't care about her and the rest of the science team and the theory and her theories. I didn't care. It wasn't interesting. It didn't grasp me. And another thing I didn't like is the whole Shakespearean aspect. Like, I don't know, like, after, what I mean by that is that after Thor gets banished to Earth, after he gets banished to Earth, the West, all the way over on Asgard, it's not, I don't know, I feel like without Thor on Asgard, it isn't the same. I don't know how to describe it, but like, it's not the same without Thor being on Asgard. So when he's on Earth, the friend, the Warriors 3, Lady Sif, I just didn't really care about that. Let me see. What else do I not like? Oh yeah, this movie is directed by Kenneth Bronston, Brian, whatever. And oh my god, the goddamn Dutch angles. Like, that's the one thing that was bothering me about this movie. The one thing that bothered me about this movie was, like, and I know the Dutch angles, should not be something to complain about, but I couldn't stop thinking about the freaking Dutch angles. Like, at the end of the day, one of the things that was bottling in my mind was the freaking Dutch angles and how many there were in this movie. Like, oh my god, like this shot, it's like diagonal, and it's like, can you just have the camera just straighten up the camera. Stop doing all this diagonal shit. It's like I have to like tilt my head back and forth and like side to side. It's just and the thing, and I remember watching this movie. You know, this movie came out in 2011, and before I was 13 years old, you know, when I was 13 years old, like pre-13 years old, I watched the MCU movies. I watched all Marvel and DC movies in theaters with my dad. So my dad and I watched this movie in theaters. And I remember seeing the trailer when Thor summoned the lightning and smashed on the ground, smashed on the ground on Jotunheim, and it created like this huge shockwave. It looked pretty freaking epic. And I remember, and not many people picked this up, and I didn't pick this up. Like when I was 11 years old, like the first time I saw this movie, I didn't pick this up either. But when I rewatched when I rewatched the movie a couple times, I was like, oh yeah, he's in this movie, and that's Hawkeye. Hawkeye, Clint Barton, and Jeremy Renner. He is in this movie. Hawkeye is in this movie, and he didn't do much. He did jack shit. Hawkeye did jack shit in this movie. He went and grabbed a bow. He went and grabbed his bow and a couple of arrows, whatever, and he got on this lift or whatever. He got on this lift. He was aiming his arrow at Thor, and Phil Coulson tells him to stand down, and then that's it. That's the end of Hawkeye. Wow, what a great character. No wonder people were making fun of this Hawkeye in, the Avengers, because he did jack shit. He just aimed at Thor, and then Coulson tells him to stand down. I thought something flew, but he didn't do nothing. He just and speaking of Phil Coulson, he's like, Phil Coulson is like Phil Coulson is like the bridge to the MCU movies. In the Defenders, TV shows, oh my god, Claire Temple, she was the bridge to the Defenders TV shows universe, but here it's Phil Coulson. Well, for Phase 1, he is the bridge. And Clark Gregg, it's always great seeing him. I love Clark Gregg, his performance, his attitude, his behavior, all of that, his performance is outstanding, and it's why Phil Coulson is so popular. And why I love seeing more of him. So yeah, what else? What other spoiler shit? How much have I been going on? It's been almost 14 minutes now. What else do I want to say? What else about this movie that is on my mind? Oh yeah, Loki. You find out, Loki, he finds out that, well, first, he finds out that he's not actually the son of Odin. He's actually the son of Loki. And that Loki, and then we, the audience, find out that Loki, he tricked his brother, he tricked his friends, he's a trickster. That's one of his characteristics. He's a trickster. He's the god of mischief. And one of the things Odin, he falls into the Odin sleep, and Loki is now the king of Asgard, and he goes to Midgard, or Earth, and he tells, he lies to Thor that, oh, father's dead, and you can't come to Asgard. You're banished. You stay here forever. So yeah, and you find out that, you know, Loki has been pulling the strings of everything. He's been contacting his biological father, Loki, the king of the frost giants. And you find out that he's, you know, like I said, he's like the puppet master. He's pulling the strings, manipulating everything, all the events and all the characters that's going around in this movie. And that's why I love Loki. This is why Loki is such a great villain, because well, first of all, yeah, Tom Hiddleston is just perfect. Like I said a billion times, he's perfect. His acting, his performance is brilliant. But another thing is like what I just said. His character is a manipulator. He's a trickster. He's a liar, and you can't really trust him. And that's one of the reasons why I love Loki. So I'm just thinking about what else I want to say. You know, at the end of the movie, Loki sends the destroyer armor. You know, the Warriors 3 Sif, they go to find Thor and try to bring him back to Asgard, because they don't trust Loki as their new king of Asgard. So they go to Earth and they tell Thor the truth that Odin is still alive, and Loki finds out about this, and he sends the destroyer armor to go after Thor. So the destroyer armor, he's in New Mexico. It's like destroying cars and blowing up buildings and knocking the Asgardians on their backs. He's he's destroying and kicking the shit out of everything. And you find Thor, and through this movie, you find out Thor is really relatable. Like first I can understand why he can come off as unlikable, because like I said a billion times, and I'll say it again, he comes off as ignorant and arrogant. But throughout the movie, you see that he's not really, there's more to him. There's more to him than just this little prince who's trying to be a big king, who's trying to prove himself a king. You don't see that. You see that he's really relatable. You see the layers of his characters and his character development. You see his character develop throughout the course of the movie, and that's why when the destroyer armor knocked him on his ass, and I'm pretty sure killed Thor. That's the point when he starts to become worthy of wielding Mjolnir and getting his suit back and his powers back, and he destroys the destroyer armor, and he travels back to Asgard, where he confronts his brother Loki, and they have this battle. Loki's trying to destroy Jotunheim, and try to become the rightful king of Asgard. So anyway, the two of them fight. Thor had no choice but to destroy the Bifrost Bridge, and then the two of them fall. And that's when Odin comes up, wakes up and grab his son, grab Thor by the hand. Loki dies. And then that's when Loki falls and dies in the vortex or the wormhole from underneath them. And they thought he died. But I'm pretty sure the audience know that he's coming back. I don't know. Was the trailer, or I'm pretty sure the marketing, if not the trailer, but maybe the marketing for the first Avengers movie that came out in 2012 were released back in 2011. I'm not so sure, but anyway, Thor, he proves himself worthy. He's back in Asgard. Everything seems to be, resolved, and then we move on to the end credits scene. I know I didn't talk about the end credits scenes, and I think in Iron Man, and I believe oh my god, the Incredible Hulk, but I'm trying to remember and bring them up. So in the end credit scene or the post credit scene, you know, Dr. Eric Selvig, he has a meeting with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury brings out a briefcase that has the Tesseract. So I believe this is the first time we see the Tesseract. And you know, back then in 2011, when I saw this movie in theaters with my dad, I didn't really stick to YouTube. I didn't connect to any superhero news website. So when the movie was over, I left. I didn't stay behind for the post-credit scene because I didn't know there was a post-credit scene. Like I said, I was 11 years old and I wasn't connected to social media or whatever superhero website. So I just got up. So I rewatched the movie on DVD. So anyway, you know, the post-credit scenes, he meets Nick Fury. We see the Tesseract for the first time. This is the first time we see the Tesseract. It might be, I don't know if it was mentioned or referenced in the previous movies, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk. No, I don't think so. It is the first time. And then, you know, in like the reflection, you know, in Eric's reflection, we see Loki. We see Loki as Eric's reflection, and he like says this word. And he says this sentence that Eric Selvig repeats, you know, that, well, I guess that's where to look. Or something like that. And Eric repeat that line. So I think it's like, I think that might be an Easter egg to the comics, because I do know in the comics Loki got, I do remember Loki got stuck inside this tree, and he tricked, I don't know if it was Heimdall or Balder, but some Asgardian, and he made this leaf fall, and then it made the Asgardian shed a tear, and the tear broke the spell, and Loki was freed. So I guess it's similar to that, but instead of making Eric shed a tear, he just used this line that I'm guessing broke a spell or something. I don't know. I think I don't know. That made no sense. But anyway, that's my review for the first Thor movie. And let me know what you thought about this movie. Like I said, it doesn't get enough love. It's very underrated. I give this movie a B+. Yeah. And the Tesseract is connected to Hydra. And Hydra's connected to the Red Skull, and the Red Skull appears in Captain America: The First Avenger. So I will see you in that review, and I may be dressing up like I'm doing right now.